Awesome. So you are meant for more. And if you saw any of the marketing materials, then you've probably seen that sentence more than one time. And this, I like to always start by saying that it is not our intention for this group that we make super achievers out of people. You know, if you are in midlife, you're not going to come into a group with an expectation that you start a nonprofit or a business or go get a PhD in anything or make big monumental life changes. More is how you define more. We have nobody's agenda for them. It's your agenda. What does it mean for you? But I'm going to tell you, we'll begin with what it meant for me. Because I went through some stuff a few years ago, as we all do. Everybody hits crossroads several times throughout their life. And just to set the stage for the type of sharing that we have a tendency to do in this group, I'm going to share a little bit of my story with you as we get going. So in 2015, I found myself at the biggest crossroads of life. For many years, you know, you start to get signals that change is needed and necessary. And if you ignore those, then the universe will hit you over the head with a sledgehammer and say it's time to get after them. And that's what happened to me in 2015. So I found out that my husband had been in a relationship with a woman that he worked with for about 3 years. And when he got caught, he fessed up and he let me know that she was going to leave her husband and he was planning to leave me and they were going to run off and live happily ever after. My daughter, who we had been wrestling with the reality that she was transgender and wanted to come out. We had been dealing with that since she was in 7th grade and she was now in high school and she wasn't patient anymore and she was ready to come out and be my son and be a man in the world. So we had that going on, no small thing. I had worked at International Paper Company for 10 years and we had gone through a merger and they were relocating our headquarters to Atlanta and I had been asked to move or accept a severance package. Because I was going through a divorce, I had to physically move out of my house, sell my house and move. Lots of big changes. My mother, who was in her mid-80s and had suffered a series of strokes, was blind from macular degeneration, could no longer walk and was in a wheelchair and had begun with dementia that was exacerbated by the strokes. And she could no longer live in her assisted living facility and we had to move her into a place where she could get 24/7 care. And at the same time, I'm the youngest of 5 kids and 3 of my siblings had been diagnosed with the same illness. 2 of them later died and one of them had to get an organ transplant and survived and is doing great now. But for a series of years, and then throw in COVID, for a series of years, my life was really about absorbing all of this dramatic and drastic change. And I'm not special. Everybody goes through these seasons of life, right? But it really, when you're facing so many transitions at once, it's time to reevaluate, reassess, and decide what you're going to do. Because on the other side of COVID, 2 of my siblings had died. My one sister was recovering and doing beautifully. My son now was out living in the world at Ohio University in the LGBTQ dorm in the as an RA in the LGBTQ dorm. So he had really come into his own and blossomed, and we had moved through the drama that created. And I was perfectly happy as a single person. But as the pressure on me, and found a new job in a place that I liked very much, all that worked out fine. It was in my house and everything was fine. But as my life quieted down and I shifted out to caretaker mode, I would find myself sitting on the couch in my living room, and I had this clock that hung in my kitchen, and it was a analog clock. It actually went tick tock, tick tock. And my house was very quiet because I was all alone. And I would hear this constant tick tock of there's some urgency here. It's time for you to get after this. And I would try to speak to my friends. I have some friends on the call today, so don't take personal offense to any of this when you hear what I'm about to say. But I think I give people the impression that I don't need help. And I, at that point in time, was especially reluctant to be vulnerable in any way, show that I was vulnerable in any way. So I don't think they anticipated or really had any sense of how sad and lonely I was. And of course, I wasn't in a place where I could say, it's not them, it's you. And you're the one that's isolating, and you're the one that's not reaching out. And while that is true, I wasn't. I did do in all that isolation was really begin to transform who I was and explore different things. I got certified in a coaching framework that's called energy leadership. I went down my own spiritual journey, which really struck a chord in me and opened up a new side of me that I hadn't really gone to before. And I started to really reflect on the people in my life and how much time I was spending with them and what they were contributing to my joy and what they weren't. And I decided that it was time for me to just change things up and find some new people, find a new group of people that were interested in personal growth, human potential, the kinds of things that I was really excited about. And it's kind of a hard conversation to strike up with brand new people, right? It's not, hold on, I got to let some people in. Hey, Sarah, if you're able to, if you could monitor who's coming in and out and let people in, that would be great if you're able to do that. But anyway, I was, it's not like you go to Kroger and you see somebody in the produce section, you're like, hey, you want to be my friend and hang out and talk about deep stuff? That's a hard thing to do. So my background professionally, I've been somebody who develops educational programming for adults for the 10 years prior. And I decided that I would put together a program that helped people pursue personal growth and development and tapping into their potential and the fulfillment that we all start to seek in midlife or when we're going through big life changes, and develop an actual curriculum around that. And then find people who are interested in that and bring them together and start to build communities. And that is what Team Me became. So if you're interested in hearing, I kind of just gave you the lay of the land, but all of that is also laid out in a little more depth in a podcast. I'll share a link to it at the end of our program today, along with the recording from this session, if you're curious about learning more. But typically, people who come to learn about Team Me have their own version of that story going on. And they come to find people to enter into community with, to process it and start thinking about what might be possible for them. And possible can be anything you want. But that's what we do in our sessions in Old Milford. A lot of the questions that I get are, well, sometimes people say, are you qualified to do this? Are you a therapist? No, I'm not a therapist, and this is not therapy. Therapists will explore your past to understand what's going on with you today. They help you address deep-seated emotional issues. If you have some trauma that you need to heal from, that's what a therapist is for, addiction or dysfunction. But they're focused on the why. Why is this going on with you? That's what a therapist does. And while certainly people have conversations to figure out the why in Team Me, I am not a therapist and I do not promote this as therapy. It's not. What it is coaching. That is the role I play in these sessions. Is I'm a coach and I'm a facilitator, and I introduce topics and I challenge anybody in the group to focus on the who of who they are, and understanding the who of who they are. What do they want to do with that who? And once they determine the what they want to do, then we start to process the how we're going to go about doing it. And the how comes in later in the program. The what's about in the middle, and the first few sessions are about the who, which is very helpful as we start to get to know each other and form tight bonds as friends and people that we care deeply about. But in the coaching process, and we do so much of this great work together in group, but you're always able to tap me as a coach if you want. And we have special rates for people in the program to make it affordable, because that's not something that's people are used to in spending money on themselves in this way. So I have it priced very low. But we help you clarify your goals, identify what's in the way of pursuing those goals, and we facilitate growth by inspiring action, inspiring you to take action, and the group holds each other accountable. Every time we get together, there's a lot of accountability, but it's in a way that's loving and supportive and in friendship and with the best intentions for one another. So that's that. But what Team Me does is it really combines the best of all of these worlds. We have coaching. It's part of the session, but it's really about the kinship that develops among the people in the room. It's a community of peers who really care about your progress and they invest in you. It's a very safe space. You're welcome to cry. You're welcome to laugh. You're welcome to tell us all the stories about your kids and your husbands and your toxic boss. It's all able. You can get it out in the open and get it off your chest and process it in a safe and loving environment. You're going to experience a lot of validation and support and encouragement. And you're also going to have an opportunity to be with a group of women who hold your thoughts sacred and confidential, and we're not going to go out and talk about your business out in the world. This is a place just for people in this group to open up and share with one another. So you probably see some of these faces. This is the very first group of people that went through Team Me. If you're not pictured here, it doesn't mean I don't want to hear from you today. If you've been through the program, it's just I don't have a picture with everybody. So I'm going to put this off. So let's stop presenting here. And I'm going to open it up. And if you have been through the program today and you're willing to chime in with some questions or answers, I've got a few questions to get us started. And then what I would like to do is encourage anybody who's on the call who has not been through the group before, who has a question, to offer that question up for the group. But we'll get started with a few questions. And since we always start with the "You are meant for more," who would like to share what motivated you to join Team Me in the first place?
I'll share.
Who is that?
Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. Yes, please do.
And I'm probably going to put a little spin to what your question is. First, I just want to say that we all joined the group for different reasons. We come from different backgrounds. Some of us had faced trauma, but some of us are just at a point in our lives where we want to build community. Others are trying to make a huge change in their career and how they advance their career. So we just came from all different backgrounds. And so I don't want you to feel like anything you have going on isn't enough or it needs to be more, because I didn't know why I wanted to do the group. I had no idea. I knew that I wanted to change. I did face some trauma with my son had a stroke, and so I did have a few things going on. I'm divorced and I was an empty nester, and so I was trying to find my footing, but I was in a good place with life. My son was doing great. My job I've been at the same job for 15 years, and it's just I'm good with it. I'm good at it. I like it. So it wasn't anything like that. It was more just like I'm an empty nester and feeling like I needed a better way to react to things that I would face in life. And it could be as simple as the next door neighbor who wants to talk to me all the time, who's 80 years old. It could be that simple to, work, having a different boss after one of 14 years and just realizing he's not what I want him to be. And that's maybe my issue. So trying to just my constant reaction to different things that I come in contact in life. And so I'm just going to say it, I suffer with confidence. And so I needed some help with that. And I think that's mainly because I talk and speak my mind. So I needed to be able to, in certain circumstances, rein myself in and learn that I don't have to answer every question or make a response to every statement. And that's huge, right? That's really hard for someone like me. So I came into Team Me not knowing kind of like looking at everybody the first few times, thinking, I have nothing in common with them. They're all married. Lisa's not married, but everyone else, I'm like, oh, how am I going to fit in? And it just naturally happens. You don't even realize it. You just come in one day and you realize you're sitting there and you're like evaluating and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm exactly where I need to be. I am who I'm supposed to be with. I'm not perfect at all, but I'm trying to make my life better. I'm trying to be better. And that's what I need to do. And that's what Teen Me gave me. It woke me up to realize I have this opportunity. I can continue to change. And we're still changing, because from the first year when we started and I was like so into it, I was meeting all my goals and everything like that. Well, then since then, my parents have like died and their health is terrible. And now I've become helping them a caregiver. So now I started to go back into the rabbit hole of just like all this stress and pressure. But, our last session, everybody kind of just all of a sudden picked up and started pulling me out. I'm back out. And everything I've learned has come back to me. And so I went through like maybe a 3-4 month period where I was like, oh my gosh, this is just too much. And now I'm back to this too shall pass. And I'm going to get through it. So I just can't speak highly enough of the program. It gives everybody different ways to change their life, but it's worth it. It's worth the investment. I'm the last person who should have spent the money on myself when I could have spent it on a lot of other things. But I was worth every cent, and I would pay double to do what I've gotten out of this. So,
yeah, the enormous growth in the community that you have found. It's amazing what we've seen change in you over 2 years. How about any of the people in Sarah's team? Anything you want to bring to the conversation?
I think we're all so super enthusiastic. It's hard not to talk about how enthusiastic I am about it. The You Are Meant for More. So that was actually what got my attention during a time in my life where our youngest of 2 sons was a senior in high school. And I had literally spent months kind of thinking to myself, this could be him moving out is going to be a big change, to say the least. And I knew that there was the potential that it could be an extremely difficult time for me. And I really wanted it to not be an extremely difficult time. Of course, there'd be some sadness, but I thought to myself, I know there's another way. I don't know what it is. Having looked back at how I faced transitions in the past, I just thought, I don't know what the tools are that I need. I don't think I have them. And on Facebook, I saw that phrase, You Are Meant for More. And I thought, bam, that whoever's saying that, whatever's behind all that is exactly what I want to be a part of. The idea that going through this transition could lead to something more and better. Wow. And so that's what pulled me in. And then, Sarah's story is amazing. And the idea that, we would build community didn't even occur to me. I was just like, how can I get through this? How can I get through this and get to a better place in my life? And then on top of that, we have this amazing community, and it's not just our group. We've met with the group that started after us, and you just sort of click immediately. But it's also helped me improve my sense of community with people who have don't even know this group exists. Mm-hmm. I feel like I agree with Sarah. It's helped me to be a better person and improve my life in so many ways. It's impossible to count.
Thank you, Karen. Charlie, you look like you have something to say.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was trying to find my unmute. So I agree with everything they said. So the only thing I'll really add on for me was I think I didn't know when I got into it either. But when I look back at that time, I was really just confused and apathetic, and a lot of things about where I was, or sort of bored with where I was. A whole bunch of those things where it was just nothing was clear. And I think what it really gave this to me, a lot that I got from this group was just that clarity. And it just took like walking through all of these steps of self-awareness, like, figuring out, I mean, and this was, for most of us, this was like the first time in years you've really even thought about yourself or talked to other women about your plans or your future, your dreams. I mean, anything like that. So this was pretty amazing that it gave us just a really safe space to do that, where people listened, you got feedback. It just, so many things that I think was just, typically lacking, especially for women, when you're so busy taking care of everybody else that, you don't have a lot of things like this. So I think that's really what I got so much from this, in addition to everything that they said, was just clarity on, okay, I can think about what I want. I can speak what I want. I can, and all of that. And that's okay. I mean, it kind of gave me permission to do what for myself, what, I've spent the last 25 years doing for other people.
When I was sitting on that couch listening to the clock tick, I was telling myself, you don't have any responsibility anymore. You can go do whatever you want to do. And I had no idea what I wanted. Absolutely zero idea, because we have a tendency to invest all of our energy into the people that we love and the careers that we're building. And we lose track of who we are and what excited us about life at one point. And that's just a sad place to be. And it doesn't have to be that way. And by the way, we're the only ones that can change that for ourselves. Nobody can come in and do it for us. But what we tend to do is start pointing the finger outward at all of the things that we're dissatisfied with in our life. It's easier to recognize it in the people or the situations that we're in. And what I learned through this process, my own process, and then watching people go through it, is that the miracle answer is, guess what, sister? It's all in you. And once you shift that in yourself, the beautiful life that you built is beautiful again. And you actually are doing exactly what you want to do, but you're able to do it with passion and vigor and enthusiasm and excitement and without fear. And that's really the big deal. I would love to hear from some people in the other group. Jennifer Easton, if you're on, could you share what it was like to go through this in a virtual way? Are you still on the call?
I am. I'm going to hang for a couple more minutes and I have to go to class.
Okay.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I didn't have any major trauma in my life. I've moved around for my career. My kids are grown. They're, out and doing their own thing. And I moved back to Chicago, not back to, but moved to Chicago. I'm from Cincinnati, from the West Coast last year for work, and really was trying to, now that Lisa said it, I didn't have to take care of anybody except myself. And trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up, which is, my careers happened to me. I didn't drive my career. It just kind of happened along the way. And I'm just trying to figure out what do I want to be and what do I want to do? And it was great to have, and I did it virtually. So I'm not in Cincinnati, although I think for the next session, I'll be down a couple of times for it. But I did it virtually. So that was nice. And I got to meet people from other places that I didn't know. And, we still formed a bond. And in fact, one of the women from my group is coming to Chicago in May, and we're doing something together. So that's super exciting. And just really with added clarity for me and put me in the driver's seat to figure out what I needed to do, not let things continue to happen to me, but be more directive and build that confidence. I think, as women, sometimes we don't have the level of confidence, even though we're like kicking butt and taking names every single day, taking care of our families and taking care of our careers and our parents. And, because I went through that with my mom during COVID. She stayed with me and she's since passed, but like, that's a lot of responsibility. And sometimes you just take care of everybody else. So I'm just in a phase in my life where I can direct my life differently, and I needed some help with that.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun, actually. I would say investing in myself is something I haven't done much of either. And so that was important to me. And I've had a lot of fun along the way.
Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate all of those comments. And amazing change, and you're investing in yourself all over the place now. She's in an immersive French program. She's going to go study abroad this year. Hope you don't mind me sharing that. You're
That's fine.
volunteering in a big way in Chicago, and new passion for your current role that you play at work, and everything's great. And I'm not saying the program produced that, but it was Jennifer taking the time to invest in herself is what produced it. And this was the vehicle she chose. So how about this? One last question, and then I want to open it up to people on the call who have their own questions. But some people are reluctant to enter into groups like this, especially if they don't know the people in the group, because you want us to bare our souls to people we don't even know. How's that supposed to work? And so if anybody is willing to talk about their own fears that they had in that way, and how quickly those were dispelled, because it goes like this. Anybody?
I could talk about that.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Ellen, and I'm part of the second in-person group. So I'm friends with some of the people in the first group, and I just kept hearing about how amazing it was. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I don't think I really need that. I know what I'm doing, you know? And so then as it came closer, I went to one of Lisa's like try it meetings or gatherings. And again, it was like a whole different group of people I didn't know. And I'm like, I don't know if I feel comfortable in this group. You know, I don't know if this will be helpful for me. And Lisa knows I was like kind of on the fence back and forth about it. And then I finally was like, well, nothing's going to change in my life until I do something. And I'm a teacher. I love my job. Last year we decided to sell our house and buy a condo in the city. Our girls were both graduating college and high school, like trying to get an empty nest going, like all the things. And it was super stressful. And again, it was, like, oh, I'm good. I think I'm fine. But when I did decide, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I like just committed, and I'm so glad that I did. I really liked the people in my group. I mean, we're all super different and really unique group of women actually that we had in our group. All different backgrounds, all different experiences, really interesting. And what I found was that my goals at the beginning, or what I thought I was looking for in the beginning, was all centered around everybody else in my life. Like, are my girls going to be okay? And my husband, and all the things. And then what it ended up being, as I really worked on it, was, what do I want for me? Like, how am I going to grow? And how am I going to take care of what I want to do? And how am I going to have dreams and make myself happy? And that is not centered around other people. And so by the end, I think that was my huge revelation, was that once I could let that go and get past that, and it was like, oh my gosh, all the things I wanted to do with my job. Now I'm like in a leadership role that I have kind of created. And it's like, once you can write it down and say it, it's amazing how you can kind of make it happen. So now my goals are really, really centered around how I want to live my empty nest life with my husband, and my girls are fine. Like, guess what? They're fine. Like, so it has, that was the biggest thing I noticed, was that how I've shifted to helping grow myself and set my own boundaries and make my life what I wanted it to be. So I'm so glad that I was part of that group.
We're glad you were part of the group too. And I think you were among all the people, I think you had a lot of reluctance opening up and sharing the first day. And then after that, that went away. And what happens is, once people put their toe in that water, and they start everybody, all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, this is finally I can talk here. I can really share here, and like, it's okay. And people aren't trying to silence me or push me down or question what I'm saying. Then the floodgates open, and everybody's like, you can see there's been a pent up longing for a space where we could talk at this level. And that's what
No judgment. I think.
No judgment at all. We're all a little wackadoodle, and say, okay. How about the people who are on the call who are exploring this for the first time? Does anybody have a question you want to throw out there?
I mean, I guess I could ask, like, do you have like a template or something that you go off to get you going? Because I could see where it is very difficult to just start opening up to a bunch of strangers.
Yeah.
Or to how to like, hey, this is where you should be at in this program and you're not there yet. Like, what's going on? I don't know.
So I can tackle that one unless somebody else wants to answer Tina's question. But Tina, there's actually a curriculum. So we start off, and it's not like you have, 10 hours worth of homework between sessions at all. The work that we do is in the session together, and it drives the conversation for the day. But the work is designed to pull out insights from your life and your experience and, help you explore deeply into who you are. And then we discuss that. You actually do exercises in the room together where I might talk about a topic. Maybe the topic is authenticity, or the topic is your core values, or the topic is how you deal with conflict, or how you manage fear, and how it makes itself apparent in your life, whatever the topic is. And then there are a series of exercises, and we might spend 5 or 10 minutes in quiet time answering those questions. And then we have a 10-minute discussion that follows it. But that said, even though there's structure that drives progress through the program, it does not mean that if you have something on your mind unrelated, then you bring that to the group, and we make time to discuss that as well. Does that answer your question? Anybody else have a question? Okay. Go ahead, if you have one, interrupt me, but I'm going to go ahead and get back to my slides and give you guys some of the answers to the questions that I hear most often. So how does it work? Well, it starts with this webinar, and this is just an informational session, so you can begin to explore and think about whether or not this is something you're interested in pursuing. So you're all here. You've done the first bullet point. After that, if you're continue to be interested, and I'll follow up with you, probably not this weekend, give you a little time to think about it, but next week I'll follow up with everybody. I'll invite you to a trial run. What a trial run is, it's like a mock meeting where we come together, we do exercise. We don't go super deep in the trial run. We keep it at the level of your values and how closely you are living in alignment with your values, and what your life would look like if you were living in alignment with your values. And that really kind of opens up some people's eyes. But the beauty of the trial run is you get to experience, there's still no commitment, there's no charge. You just come, you see if you gel with the people, if you like the people in the group, if you think you would want to spend 3 hours once a month with this group, then you get a sense to know. And I'm watching too. And my goal is, like, I'm continuously forming groups. So if you're not jiving with the people who are in the group that day, then we just continue to talk, and maybe I form another group a couple months down the road, and you can come experience that and see if you fit better with that group. But we keep going until we get it right. But when you do make a commitment, then you get placed with your group. A group is 5 or 6 people. They're intentionally small because we work on a lot of stuff, and you get too many people and it's kind of cumbersome. Because they're intentionally small, we ask that you make a commitment to attending all the sessions. Obviously, people get sick or have vacations, and nobody gets upset or frustrated by that. But we do ask that you commit to coming, and you don't blow it off if you get a better offer to go hang out with the friends or get lunch somewhere on a Saturday. But anyway, once you make a commitment and you get placed with your group, then we work out a standing meeting date and time that works for the people in the group. So usually it's on the weekends. I'm certainly open to doing things during the week. Most people are working and aren't able to do that. But if there are people who are not working and want to do something through the week, I would love that. So I get some weekends too. But for example, we might meet the first Saturday of the month from 9 to 12, but we align on a meeting date and time, and then we just start doing it. And then the next thing we do, I mentioned the coaching framework that I'm trained in. It's called energy leadership. So included in the price is you take the energy leadership assessment. I'm going to talk about that in depth in a little bit, but we then do a 90-minute debrief where I take you through the findings, and we do that before the first session. So we're all going in kind of rooted in this concept and this theory, and what is intended to do is to help you progress in your self-awareness. So energy leadership, I'm not going to go into a big explanation about it now, but what it does, it's a little different. If you've been in a professional environments, you've probably done other assessments like DISC maybe, or Myers-Briggs, maybe you've heard of that. And those are all great and wonderful, but energy leadership's really different. This is not measuring your personality or reporting out on your personality. This is looking at your attitudes and beliefs. And because those are the lens that you're seeing your life, that is what shapes your personal reality. And what we find is that where you are on this energetic scale is really affecting your life. And so we equip you and give you tools through the coaching process to get yourself to a place where you are really able to get the most out of life. We translate abstract beliefs into tangible, measurable metrics that you can look at and chart your progress over time. And you can start responding to life versus reacting to life, which is a very different path towards happiness and fulfillment. Another assessment that we do about halfway through is Clifton Strengths Finder. You may or may not be familiar with that one, but out of 36 different strengths that we assess and evaluate, we identify your top 5. And the reason we do this is because about halfway through the program, we start to switch from, Julie, by the way, is an executive coach who works with me, and she comes in and leads this session. She's great. But part of the curriculum is the first 3 sessions. It's really about self-exploration. We're getting to know each other. We're building those relationships with one another. We're starting to get clear about who we are. What have we lost touch with? Who was that person that we've lost touch with, and what was she like? So we can start to get a sense of who we are authentically. We come in with Julie at session 4, and she helps us identify our strengths. So oftentimes what happens is we get lost in our lives, and we forget what we're really good at and what our gifts are and what our natural talents are and what are the things that used to excite us when we were younger before we had to kind of put that aside and move into adulthood. And so Strengths Finder reminds us of these 5 things that we are really exceptional at. And we're good at them for a reason. And we have a tendency to dismiss things that we excel at as unimportant because they come so naturally to us. But those are actually the building blocks for a wonderful life. So halfway through, we make this shift from where have we come from, and now it's about where are we going. And halfway through, we create what I call a vision map, a vision roadmap. And it is a 2-page map that pulls together our talents, our gifts, our values, the things that we believe are important to us, the things that we want to make sure we experience before we move on from this lifetime. And we have this 2-page spread, and it's like an inventory of everything we have to work with. You know, this is, if I'm going to reinvent myself or get back to who I am and live fully, this is everything that I've already got. These are all the things I'm working with. What can I do with this? And we spend the next several sessions, the back end, creating the plan, crystallizing it. What is it that we want? What is our big vision for ourselves, and what is next? And when I say big vision, you might come out of this with clarity on, I want to go, end world hunger, or you might just say, I want to have a little more, I want to be more honest in my relationships. It is unique to you, and that's what we then build on in the second year. So what to expect from group meetings: monthly meetings, 3 hours, a schedule that works for everybody. We have a theme to that meeting, and there's a little advanced prep work. You're going to get a text or an email from me 4 or 5 days in advance of the meeting. Remember, we asked you to look at this, read this page, think about this. It's not heavy or intensive on pre-work. We're going to have facilitated conversations. They're structured but flexible, and they're outcome oriented, right? Coaching is about taking action, because then we feel like we have some power in our lives. We become empowered through this process. The idea is that you bring things, and in the discussion with the group, their clarity emerges, right? They help you fill in the gaps. I'm thinking this, I'm not sure this. Well, remember what you said a couple times ago? This is all starting to fit together. It's looking like a pattern for you, etc. And then we're always building on our progress. In the end, we promise that you will clarify what's most important to you. You're going to come to know who you are on a much deeper level. You're going to get honest about what's in your way, the barriers that you embody within this body, and how you get those things out of your own way, create a plan to make it happen, and build new relationships and have fun. It can be heavy and deep at times. There is as much laughter as there are tears. We meet down at Cohatch in Old Milford. That's where my offices are. Old Milford, if you're not familiar with where that is, it's kind of where Terrace Park, Indian Hill, Milford, kind of the eastern suburbs kind of converge right along the Little Miami River. And this community is filled with restaurants and boutiques and galleries and rooftop bars, places to get lunch, the Little Miami River and the bike trail. And so what we tend to do is we couple the meetings with a lot of fun, and very common for groups to go out afterwards together and grab lunch or do a little shopping, window shopping, browse, pretty day, walk the street. It's really a quaint little charming place. And for anybody engaging in a virtual way, as Jennifer did with the people in her group, they're figuring out their own ways to get together. They're going to go see a podcaster who's coming in town into Chicago and spend the weekend together and have a lot of fun. So really potential for great relationships form. Big question, how much does it cost? If you pay all at once, it's $17.50. If you're friends with somebody who has been through the program, they all have friends and family discount codes that I would encourage you to ask them for. And if you're not friends with anybody on the call, you're friends with me, and I've got a discount code for you too. If that's too much to bite off in one chunk for you, you pay as you go, $220 a month. And it's just automatically, hit your credit card, that kind of thing. But that's all I have in terms of a formal presentation to share. It is Easter weekend, so if you got to boogie on off this call, totally fine. I get it. But if you want to stay on and have some additional conversation, I got nothing to do but cleaning my house today and going to the grocery store. So I'm happy to stay on and talk. You got a question, Tina?
Yeah. Is the $17.50 for a year? Or does it come up? Okay.
It's a 8-month program.
8
So
months.
it includes all the assessments. It includes the work. There's a workbook that comes with it. It includes the trial run, and then we have 8 monthly sessions. So it's 24 hours basically of in-person time together, and then not that 90-minute debrief with me, which you've already done through our other work together. And then if you want to purchase one-off coaching, it's $150 an hour, which I know sounds like a lot, but most coaches charge like $400 an hour. So comparatively, it's not that much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bethany, did you have a question?
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for doing
Hi.
it today. It's nice of you to take time out of your weekend for questions and introduction of the program.
Thank you for coming.
Of course. Do you start your 8 months once a year, or is it cycled? I know you said that you have groups that you set up continually. So how often do you set up new groups?
I would say they're continuously forming. So my goal is to always have a pool of people in the pipeline who are interested, because fit is so important. So as soon as we get a group of 5 or 6 people who are gelling with one another, we can start at any time. Summer, people don't get super excited about joining something in the summer. Everybody's got vacations, right? And so Honestly, how this often goes is I do a springtime introduction like this, and we do a trial run maybe in June or May, and then we get together and then we get a group, and then we start to look at calendars, and everybody's, I'm going to Florida, I'm going here, I'm going there, and we end up starting in late August. That's very often how it goes. And then you tend to go like the winter, through fall and winter. But it doesn't have to be that way, but it just kind of often is.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. And I saw you're friends with Sean Malarkey. Is that how you got snooped on all y'all on Facebook?
Very good friends, actually. I work with Rose, his partner, and Sean and I have gotten to know each other over the years. He is a wonderful human.
Yeah, I didn't know if I didn't know how you got connected.
Yeah. What a small world. I love Cincinnati for that.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody else?
Actually, Beth got connected through me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We have a special connection, and she introduced me to the idea of this. And I will say Jen is sorry, Jen, you're here, so you might blush, but she's a really special soul and dear to my heart. So it was definitely an honor to be invited. So thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Well, if you saw all the social media, that's Jen. Jen and I work together, and she puts all that messaging out there for me and does a great job among other things that she does. So she gets kudos for that. Anybody else? Suzanne, you have any questions? You're being awful quiet.
No, I kind of feel like I've been part of the group, the first one at least along the way, just because I know so many of the people in it, and but I've always been very interested in to see how it could help me, live the next bunch of years and make them the best that I can.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
I know where to get you.
You know where to get me.
I was just going to comment on something I thought I heard Tina say. I'm not sure if I got this right, but I thought that one of your questions had to do with like if you got behind or something, or you're not where the program is at that moment. And I guess I wanted to share that in my experience, there's no such thing as behind. People, you can miss it. You can miss a Saturday, show up the next time. It's all good. Earlier this month, or the last session that we had, I just couldn't do any of the homework. I couldn't even think about it. I just felt like I walked in cold. And like Lisa said, homework it's not even a big deal anyway, but I do feel like I get more out of it when I can think about it and prepare ahead of time. But the way life was, that wasn't possible. And, there was just no being held back by any of that. I think a couple people have missed a couple in a row, and, it's okay. And I guess you get a better sense of that once you're involved. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that while I did the in-person program, at least once, if not twice, I joined it virtually because I was traveling, and I loved it. So I can relate to the woman in Chicago. Like it's amazing how that didn't matter. And it was a great experience, even, participating virtually.
Yeah, it goes fast. It sounds like a lot of time to be on a Zoom call, but it does go fast. Well, if there are no more questions, we can wrap it up today. Feel free to, I'm going to reach out to you regardless, but you're welcome to reach out to me too if you have an urgency. And we'll just take it one step at a time. And next step would be assembling for a trial run meeting, so you can dip your toe in the water and see if you like the experience. And thank you for giving us your time today and interest, and appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody.
Lisa. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Thanks.
Thank you, you guys.